Hey there, welcome back to the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm your coach, Alicia Darby. Now, this episode features a client of mine who agreed to 3 specific things: to be coachable, to be vulnerable, and to have her coaching session recorded and published in order to help you. So I know that a lot of women who haven't had pageant coaching before don't really know what to expect or how much can you really even get done in 30 minutes. So this client of mine agreed to have her session recorded in order to show you what gets done and how it gets done during a virtual coaching session. Okay, so I want you to listen to this call from 2 different perspectives. First of all, I want you to think, could pageant coaching, especially virtually, even be something that could help you in your pageant prep? I want you to be thinking about that. At the end of the video, I'll tell you how you could make that a reality for you. The second thing that I really want you to pay attention to is I want you to think the things that I'm sharing with her, the coaching that I'm giving her, how can you apply that coaching to your own pageant prep, okay? What are the things that she's learning in this and the skills that she's developing and the strategy that she's learning? How can you apply that to yourself? I'm so grateful that this client allowed me to record this call because I know a lot of the things that she learned during this call will support you in your pageant prep. So sit back with an open mind, maybe get a notepad and a pen handy because a lot of this coaching is going to apply to you too, all right? Enjoy. Lindsey, let's dive right in. Tell me how I can help you.
Okay, well, I'm a current reigning title holder. I'm Royal International Miss Arizona 2020. This is the first pageant I've ever won. It's my first state pageant. This is the first time I'm going to a national, and this is an international competition. So I am kind of feeling the pressure a little bit, but I've been working a lot on myself. I have a very strong personal brand. I know that I can articulate answers really well, but at the end of the day, you know, when you're in an international pageant like that, how do you stand out? How do you win over the judges to make them fall in love with you right there in the interview room? Because I know that I have great stage presence. I have this unique look. I have the short red hair. I'm really into vintage fashion, and I will continue that throughout the internationals week. But at the end of the day, we all know that it's won in the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's smart. You're absolutely, you know a lot for just starting your pageant career. So I like this. That's good. Yeah, you've done a lot of research. This is wonderful. You're coming from a really great start. Tell me a little bit about, because you mentioned your personal brand, you mentioned the visual aspect of that with the cute short hair, which, girl, I'm digging, and also with the vintage clothing that you mentioned. So that kind of is the visual aspect of it. What are you doing in terms of community service? Do you have a platform or legacy project? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Royal International Miss is very big on community service. So I have my own personal platform. I wanted something that if I were to win internationally, what's something that could relate to everybody? So right now I work as a preschool teacher assistant. So I work well with kids and I'm always doing that. I love my kiddos. But something that I knew that would translate well is working at humane associations and societies, working with rescue animals. I have 2 rescue puppies of my own. One is definitely trying to get on my lap right now. And I want to work with them. And I work a lot with the puppies because I have a very soft voice. I have a soft touch, and I don't really have a need to take a puppy home at the moment. So something like that.
Okay, cool. So what have you done so far for those initiatives? How far have you taken projects like that?
So right now it's a little bit weird. I got super crazy busy this semester. I have 19 credits. I am involved on campus to executive boards, and I work. And I just found out that I got accepted to another job just now.
Wow, so you're busy.
But I've been trying to volunteer literally whatever free time I can. So I started in November, and I have now reached past 50 hours, and my goal is to reach 100 hours by July.
Good. And that's at the Humane Society?
Yeah, it's the
animal shelter? Okay, cool. Good. All right, cool. I love this. All right, so I'm taking a bunch of notes so that I can kind of keep my brain organized over here because I tend to work I kind of gather information and then I look for the common thread. So you mentioned that you are a preschool assistant. Have you done additional work with children? Have you done other volunteer things, or has your volunteer work only been within the Humane Society or working with animals?
Well, I'm just involved wherever I can. So I'm also a part of NAU Give, which is on campus. And we do various volunteer projects where we're working at Flagstaff Family Food Center, or we're doing trail cleanups, campus cleanups. That club specifically is very focused on sustainability. So we do a lot of things like that. I led a discussion on what does volunteerism mean to you? How can we volunteer more? What can you do personally that would maybe make an impact on the earth societally and physically? And from there, I work also with the Flagstaff Chamber of Commerce. I was supposed to have a meeting with the mayor, but unfortunately fell through because of everything that's been happening right now. But I've been trying to get really involved. And that's the whole reason why I've done pageants is I moved from California to Arizona, and I wanted to create a community where I could feel stable and have roots.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, so this is great. Okay, so campus as it is right now during the quarantine, are you guys still on campus or are you digital now? Are you doing courses online?
I'm doing courses online at the moment.
Okay, so has that changed things? I'm imagining that everything's changed, even with the organizations. Are you still meeting regularly with those organizations you're a part of?
No, I had to cancel all of them because we just can't meet in general.
Yeah. Okay, so you haven't been meeting online or anything, Zoom calls, none of that yet. Okay. Okay, cool.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so this is good information. All right, so your original question was, how do I stand out? And what I've found, and the way that I train my clients is, we stand out with what we call a legacy project, okay? A legacy project is a thing that requires you as an individual to create it. But when you are done with your title, because at some point you're going to be done with your title, whether you win all the way up to the national pageant and then you relinquish your title, or you don't win the next title, right? At some point, pageantry will end. And when that happens, we still want your project, whatever it is that you put in place, we want that to continue, okay? One common question that gets asked in pageants that really trips women up often is, what do you want your legacy as this title holder to actually be? And what people often say is like, oh, I want people to know that I'm friendly, or that if I just touch one life, then it's going to be great, like things like that. And that's nice, but everybody says those things, okay? Another thing that everybody says, to your point, because you'd mentioned this in your original form to fill out, is like, how do you, when everybody's saying the same stuff, like, what can you say that sounds different, right? So it's good to know what are other people saying so that yours can sound different. So another thing that often people will say is, okay, if you were to win this title, what would be something that you would do to market the pageant and to market the platform? And everybody says, I would get in the schools, I would talk in the schools, right? And that's cute and that's nice. But right now, that isn't going to work, right? It isn't going to be enough. And your pageant is in July, right? So when that comes around, July, you might have August, September, you might be able to get into schools, but maybe not. They might not. Who knows what it's going to be happening after this, right? So that isn't going to be a strong enough answer. Also because everyone else is saying it. Okay, so what we do, what I do with my clients, what I'm going to do with you today, is we figure out a legacy project, something that is really super unique to you, that even if another girl liked the idea, she wouldn't be able to do it because she doesn't have the personal story that connects her to it, okay? And then we get enough steps in place. Like for you, between now and July, you'll be able to kind of get version 1 of whatever we decide. And I'll give you some examples so that you can see what I mean. You'll be able to get some things done, but really the work will begin as you receive the title and then you put it into action. This is why women who have been competing for many years tend to score better in pageants because, yes, they have the experience, they know what not to do, but also they have been moving forward their legacy project for years more than anyone who's just begun, right? So what I want to do is work with you to create something that would be really epic. So that, in fact, I worked with a woman who, it was her first, she was in a Mrs. Petite pageant, and it was her first pageant ever. And so she's like, I don't know what to do. And so she's like, legacy project? Sounds good. Let's do it. And she created this epic legacy project. Her entire interview was about the legacy project. And now that's by design. I know that that's how it's going to go because it's so interesting and fascinating and you're the only one that's going to do it. So like when you've got something interesting to talk about, your whole interview is like, wow, tell me about this. Tell me about this. So what she did was she was in the healthcare industry. And so she created a YouTube channel that was all about home health, but it was from a nurse's perspective. So it wasn't just like, oh, here's some workouts to do at home, or, oh, here's some of this, what to eat. But it was like, here's why this is so important. As a nurse, here's what I see on a daily basis, and here's what you could. So it was very unique, In her interview, that's all they asked her about, oh, so what kind of videos do you do? And why are you interested in this? And how do you see it growing after your reign and stuff? And pretty soon, 3 minutes go by, 5 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, and you're still talking about the same thing, So that's what we want to do for you. So for example, I've had clients that have, I had a woman who was a educator. So her background was in teaching. And it was during the time when the arts were getting slashed. Everybody was like, oh, we don't have time for arts. It's all science and math. So she created a math, or actually it might have been a science lesson. I can't remember now, or a math lesson. It was something in science or math. And she took the actual education, because there are specific things that teachers have to teach about the curriculum for the year. So she took one of those things okay, here's what they need to learn. And she did an art lesson that actually taught on that topic. She created the whole lesson plan, packaged it all together, partnered with Crayola Crayon Factory, which was in Pennsylvania at the time, to put this whole thing together, to then launch it out to teachers around anywhere, anyone that wanted to teach the arts through, but really they were teaching this lesson, right? That is epic. That is something that would stand out. That's the kind of thing that's oh, well, that's kind of a cool thing. I had another woman she was a senior in high school, about to graduate, and her key to success in everything was mentoring. She'd received mentoring. So she wrote a book about how young junior high kids could find a mentor, whether it be a teacher or an upperclassman or somebody that could help them along their way to navigate high school. She wrote a book on it, won her pageant, and now she's signing autographs in her book at her appearances, That's an epic legacy project, right? That's the kind of thing that we need for you, okay? So how do you create this kind of thing? Well, what we're going to do in the next 20 minutes is we're going to dig up a couple. We might not come to the exact thing. We might not come to the exact thing, but we're going to at least dig up a lot of the ideas that you can get excited about what you want to create. Okay. So you mentioned you're a preschool assistant. You mentioned rescue animals, but I want to think outside of that. There might be something that lies within those things. But when you think about those two topics and other topics that you've experienced, where do you feel like there is a need? Where do you feel like there's a problem that needs to be solved? And I know it's just what comes to the top of your mind? I know that's a big question, but just off the top of your head, what are some things that you're well, this I think is important and this I think is important? What comes to mind for you?
Something that's always been very important to me and something that I'm very open about is I have had a very long history with mental illness, and my mental health is something that I've always worked on. So I have that anxiety, and being a college student, it can heighten a lot, but I've been able to really keep it in control. I've been really on top of it, especially in times like these with my isolation. I'm doing many things to kind of work on myself, and I'm making sure that I'm keeping up with my appointments and what I need to do. And working as a preschool teacher assistant, you don't even realize sometimes how young it might affect kids, especially kids of divorce, of broken homes. So something that I've always loved is mentoring those kiddos and just seeing where their feelings are. They don't really know what depression, anxiety is at 3 and 4 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think talk about their feelings, being able to say, hey, let's help you out on this. And, if there's something that they're struggling with, you can always pull them aside, and then they feel comfortable talking to you. So mentoring has always been big. And I know that when it comes to my legacy, if I am to win the international title, I definitely know that I want to be a mentor. I want to be constantly helping out all the state title holders. I want to be getting the name of the pageant out. I want to be in marketing and branding at some point. I'm a graphic design major now. I want to get my MBA. I kind of want to have a little more concentration in marketing when it comes to that. And I just want to be able to take all my experiences and apply them somewhere, and applying it to this pageant could be great when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to marketing and marketing yourself and how to feel secure in yourself and your personal brand, how to stand out in that job interview, all those kinds of things that I feel like, non-pageant girls might not realize are great tools to have in your tool belt.
100%. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, this is awesome. Oh my gosh. You are so tapped into who you are. I love that. Like, so I'm glad we were able to get there quickly. That's awesome. So now let me ask you, you mentioned graphic design. What are your creative outlets? Do you see yourself as like, do you like making beautiful photos? Do you draw? Do you sing? Like, what are some of your creative outlets?
I have many. One that's very prominent, though, is I sew. So for this upcoming pageant, I'm sewing my own fun fashion. I've sewn many of my own things before. I've sewn past interview dresses, and I find a lot of creativity happening there. What I would love to explore actually is creating my own prints for textiles. And then I also do needlepoint, and for graphic design especially, I'm not a big illustrative person. Organic objects really terrify me. Okay. So when it comes to graphic design, I love web design because I can tap into that, the logical side of my brain, and I can apply that to my creative side as well. Because I have a beautiful belt.
Do you have a website, or have you built one before?
That is my goal for this summer because I need to create a portfolio website, but I've created quite a few websites before.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, this is going to be great. Okay. So let me ask you this, because you mentioned your personal story of mental health. Was your rescue animal a part of the healing process with that?
He definitely has it. I'm looking at him over there being all weird. He just knows. It's crazy because, a lot of college students will get animals and register them as ESAs, and I'm not trying to suppress their feelings or anything like that, but he gets me. He knows when I'm starting to freak out or when I'm starting to have that anxiety build up. He is the most cuddly little thing, and he'll just press himself into me, and he just knows. He's gentle and sweet. So yes, ESAs and therapy animals, I am huge about.
Okay, I love that. Have you ever had an opportunity to blend your work with children with rescue animals? Have you ever had bring a therapy dog to the preschool, or I don't know, think something like that?
So I was hospitalized for a little while last year, and we had a therapy animal come and see me, and it was so sweet, just brightened up my spirits so much. And I was able to run into that person again, and I got their number, and they are a part of the Northern Arizona Pet Association up in Northern Arizona. And they go around to schools, they go around to hospitals. It's just kind of their like an association of registered therapy animals. And they have this thing called Pause to Read. And they go to the local school district, and for children who are nervous or have insecurities about their reading, they can read to the therapy animals. And I always wanted to get involved in that. And I was just about to do it. And then, of course, this all happened.
Of course.
So
yes.
It's all hard.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So I love the idea of Pause to Read, but that is the children are reading to the animals, right?
Yes.
So, okay. So that's a cool concept. I want you to create something like that, but not reading oriented, because that's not really your thing, and not from the child to the pet, but really from either the pet to the child or from you to the child. So here's some thoughts. Let's brainstorm this out and see what we can come up with.
Yes.
So you mentioned graphic design. You mentioned web, that you have stuff on the web. You mentioned you love marketing. All those things scream you need to have a website. Okay. Now, what's on this website? Okay, so what if you did this website, what would be on this website? Well, I'm thinking you might be able to create, and you also mentioned children being able to express their feelings. I'm wondering if have you seen those things before where it's like a chart of all these different faces, and the faces are like emojis, and it's like they ask the children what is that emoji feeling? What does that face mean? And if it's then they're oh, it means they're mad or angry. And okay, yeah. And what's this one mean? Oh, they're really excited. Okay, yeah. What's this one? Oh, they're happy. They explain feelings through images. What if, I don't know if you could do this. Is there any way you could create cartoon style graphics of animals having a variety of emotions? Or perhaps there's a thing where maybe you have like a cartoon sketch that's like a child speaking to an animal and the animal responding with empathy, or something along these lines that would get children to be able to connect that idea of how it's safe to express your feelings. I don't know if you write a book about it. I don't know if that's really your thing. But maybe it's just a variety of like infographics or something like that. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something you've done before or interest in, or not really?
Like the illustrative part again kind of scares me a little bit.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I can do it, especially if I put a lot of work into it and I really focus on it, and I can get feedback from my professors, my mentors, things like that. Some of my other friends that they've become my mentors now.
Yeah, we don't want to go if it's. I see now what you're saying. That illustration. I'm not a graphic designer, so I don't know what that. For me, illustration's like with a pen and paper, but that makes sense. So we don't want to go there. If it's not a good fit, we don't want to force it. It has to be something that's just like so easy that you're in the flow when it's happening, you know? Okay. So what about, you mentioned mentoring, and I'm wondering if, like, especially now when people are isolated, and I don't know if preschool is really your target market, even though there's something to be said for that, but to get to a preschooler, you're not going to get to a preschooler on social media. You're not going to get to them through a website. You would have to go through adults, right? But you did mention that personally for you being in college, that was something that you have personal experience with and that your rescue animal has helped. My guess is that college students are also experiencing a lot of the same things, where I just watched this ridiculous movie on, like, I would say ridiculous because it was like kind of it was a facetious look at adult children of divorce, and it's called ACOD. But basically, it uncovered that people in our generation now are the biggest generation that was unparented. So our generation had many broken families, and so they were passed between homes and a variety of things like that. So you mentioned that, and that's ongoing now. It's just we've grown up. We're the first generation to really like be here now. That has an impact. I don't know if that's been your story or not. There may be other things, but perhaps your own generation as a role model and as a mentor to even your own peers, that could be something useful. So perhaps you create a website and you get your peers to share their stories of how their rescue animal has helped them overcome anxiety with the goal of getting more people to adopt animals from shelters. Mm-hmm. Is that something that could fit for you?
Yeah, I've always thought about doing some type of initiative. I mean, I see a lot of my constituents do, start their own nonprofit, and starting my own nonprofit geared towards young children, helping out their mental health has been something that I want to do in the future. But I know, I'm not a school teacher. Well, I'm technically a school teacher, but I'm not a credentialed school teacher. I'm not a child psychologist. So that would be something where I would start to kind of blend those groups together. But 19 years old, still a college student, don't really know how to do that. So something that I want to do in the future. But mentoring is something that I know. Mentoring is something that I want to do for my career. I want to be one of those higher ups that's constantly mentoring the new people, making sure that they feel comfortable in their transition to something like that. And I can always share my story of my rescue dogs and how they've helped me, especially with my anxiety whenever I feel like I have something going on and I need to calm down. They are my biggest ones. And I actually know that that's true for a lot of people, and especially a lot of people my age.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I love this. So we don't need to start an organization right now. Like that you don't need to do. I suggest you start an organization when you need to. So when you start to process payments, when you start to like accept donations, things like that, then you need to kind of have some structure. But you don't need to do that for your initiative right now. So release that. It doesn't need to be ridiculous. We just want to get it started. And the more that you start and the more that you do the thing that you might be interested in doing, it will direct you. So you'll know if it feels good and it feels right, you'll be like, yeah, I need to do more of this. And then you'll do something and you'll be like, that didn't sit right. I'm over that. I'm not going to keep doing that part, But what you're describing, so here's your homework, okay? I want you to think through and brainstorm like no idea is a bad idea, because as you get things out there and like start jotting them down on paper, you'll start to realize like, okay, this aspect of that I like, this part of it, and then let me put these two together. Now it's the perfect thing, right? Something along those lines.
Okay.
But what I want you to do is I want you to create a thing, a project, okay? So a legacy project is either a project or a product. Okay, so the project that the girl did that created the lesson plan and partnered with it, that's a project. A product is the book that the girl created, okay, or like a YouTube channel, something like that. You want to think about it as you're creating a thing. It doesn't have to be that you're, launching some mega whatever, but you're creating a blog or a hashtag or a something. You're creating it, okay? You own it. You've designed it. Then you want it to be that it's from you. It's your personal message, which the mental health thing I think is a really strong personal message because it's something you have success overcoming. So anytime you have success overcoming something, you want to look over your shoulder and say, how did I get this success? Like, what did I do or what happened for me that led me to that success? And it might be through the rescue animal. It might be through mentors. It might be through therapy. It might be through journaling. What is the thing that are your tenets of this success system? Okay. So for you, it might be like, I'm just going to create something. This might not be perfect for you, but I just want to show you what might this look like in the end. Okay. So let's say that you are going to do healing alongside animals. Let's just say that you title this Healing with Animals. Okay, Healing with Animals. And Healing with Animals is about how you can overcome depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues by rescuing an animal and growing with that animal, kind of healing with the animal. And so the way to do it is you find an organization that has shelter animals, and here's a list of them. And then second, you test out, you want to feel like you want to hold the animal and see how does it fit with your personality. Do you feel like, okay, and that's it. And then step 3 is when you bring the animal home, now here's 6 things you can do at home to get your animal to feel comfortable with you and you with them, So that's like an example. And then you create a website that has your 6 steps for this. And you've got a little like infographic of the list of, things, or you've got a printable that shows like, the organizations or clickable links to take you to organizations or whatever, things like this. Then you do like mentoring online through whatever, Instagram stories if you love social media, or perhaps you bring other people in, or maybe you're just searching hashtags of people like hashtag depressed, hashtag like, social distancing sucks, or whatever, like whatever negative hashtags are out there. And you reach out to those people and you counsel them and say, hey, have you ever considered an animal? Have you ever thought about this? That's the kind. Then now you've got this little kind of train going down the tracks, right? Now, when you show up to your pageant and they say, what's your legacy? You say, I want to be a legacy of being a mentor. In fact, I've already done it. And here's how. So now they're like, wow, this girl's at, because everybody wants to be a role model. Everybody wants to be, be like a friend. Everybody's got something like that. But you would be actually able to say, and here's how I'm already doing it, So now they're like, oh, shoot, this girl's got a website. Like, wait, what? Like, this girl's already marketed. She's got a reach. She's got a platform that she can already, like, talk about our pageant. Like, we have to choose her over that other girl who's just, like, nice and looks good. Like, but this girl's actually got stuff that would actually, we could ride her coattails. Right? So a lot of people join a pageant because they're like, oh, this pageant is going to make me famous. This pageant's going to give me a platform. But you're going to be like, I'm already got, the train is moving over here. Like, you want to choose me so you can get on my train. Right? That's the difference. That's the way to stand out. That's the way to stand out, is to say, I'm already on this train track. It's happening. Do you want on or off? Right? So whether it's in career mentoring, if that's the direction, if it's with the mental health stuff, if that's direction, whatever direction you end up taking, I want you to think about it just version 1. Just what can I do to just get the train started down the tracks, right? that's going to be, then you can start talking about it. I did an episode, let me look it up. I think it's episode 23 of the Win a Pageant podcast. Let me just make sure. That discusses legacy project. Yeah, episode number 23. So if you go to winapageant.com/23, that will show you that thing about legacy project. And it basically talks about how do you build this thing? Like, what is it? And then how do you communicate it to your audience? And I really feel like, Lindsey, that's the thing that you're missing in order to stand out, and then that eventually will become what you talk about in your onstage introduction and what you talk about in your interview and what you talk about in everything. Because now your brand is not just like, oh, she's a cute girl. She's like got her vintage clothes. Like, we like her. Now it's like, we actually trust her. Remember, there's 3 things in order to win. Everybody makes a choice based on 3 things. They have to know what they're choosing. Okay, you don't go to a restaurant and look at a menu and no descriptions on the menu and you're like, I guess I'll have the ring-a-ding-ling. Like, you're like, I don't even know what a ring-a-ling-ding is. Like, I would rather have like a cheeseburger and then what's on it are pickles and ketchup and mayo and what's on this cheeseburger. You're not just going to be like, give me the burger. Like, you need to know, right? They need to know you. They need to feel like they know you, right? That's why they do personal introduction and paperwork and things like that. The second is they need to like you. And that's what you're describing with, like, you've got the brand that's like a likable brand. You're smiley, you're positive, you're engaging. Those things are likable. You're likable. That's easy. That's check. You've got that down, That's the easy one. Okay. So that's likable. The third is trust. I have to trust. So I'm not going to go into a restaurant that looks like shady or like their refrigerator's been open all day or has rats running in and out, because I don't trust that, right? I trust them when they are clean and presentable, when they're in alignment with what they say. Like, I'm not going to go into a Chinese restaurant that sells hamburgers. I'm not going to buy a hamburger at a Chinese restaurant. I don't trust that. That makes no sense, right? And it might be fine, but it's like, well, the way to get people to trust that you are a good title holder is to prove you've already done something worthy of the title, right? It proves that you've got the time, that you've got the energy for it, that you've got the initiative, the like personal initiative to actually take action on it, and that you're already having conversations that they want their title holder to be having, right? So know, like, and trust. And the legacy project is what hammers that trust aspect, right? So just to be likable and just to be relatable and just to be cute isn't enough. To stand out, you've got to really have something that's like next level, right? Does this feel like it's making sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. How is it feeling for you? Like, how does the idea of creating a legacy project, how does that feel for you?
It's something that I've definitely been wanting to do, because I know I already have those roots in the Humane Association and, working as a preschool teacher assistant, I can really understand, how to teach, how to mentor. So just being able to combine those two and getting started on that, I think will do wonders.
Absolutely. Yes. I love what you just said right there. I just want to call this out. So a lot of people, and even in my recent conversations with clients, we've been talking a lot about branding, because branding is very popular right now because women are doing it everywhere, but it's a little bit confusing. But what you just said, I want to just highlight, that's a part of your brand. So the teaching aspect, the mentoring aspect, rescue animals aspect, and working with children. All of those are a part of your brand. So when you show up as a teacher, a mentor, a child advocate, or a child mentor, a child teacher, and as a lover of rescue animals. Like, that is your brand. That's how you want to show up. Now, your skills, like, I love to hike, and like, I love to like cook paleo food, or I love to like plant a garden, or I like to sew, or whatever. All those things might show up. They're a part of who you are. But if you're like all over the place, then it's confusing to the judges. So if in your personal introduction, if you're like, oh, and by the way, like, I love to sew and I love to like, la, 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 like all these crazy things, they're going to be like, what? Like, it's too much. I don't feel like I know her. She has all these hidden things that don't make sense to me, right? We want to feel like we know you. Okay. So that's the thing is like, we just don't get too far out. Keep it. So exactly what you said. I'm a teacher. I'm a child advocate. I'm a mentor. All those things are spot on. I love that. It's going to be great. It's going to be easy for you. Yeah.
That's something struggle with all the time because I'm just a very deep person and I have all these different branches to myself and all these roots, and I'm just constantly growing as a person. So it's hard to just condense that into 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that can be really difficult. And it's the vital aspect is it's like the curator of a museum. So if I told you, hey, we're going to set up a museum and we're going to have a whole bunch of cartoon images in this room. So you got to figure out which ones go in this room. Well, do you know how many people are cartoonists? Like unbelievable amounts. So the job is not how do I stick everything in here? It's how do I remove things so that the room is still beautiful and easy to see and easy to flow through and easy to understand, right? It's not about putting everything in there. So a lot of pageant women want to just stick everything in there. And it's like, no, you've got to curate your personal brand. So what do I artistically remove so that what's left is easy to understand, easy to consume, easy to feel like I know, right? Hey, I want to mention the other thing that you mentioned was about being busy. So you were like, I'm involved in all these things like that. I just want to caution you against because they often, I love that you're involved in a ton of stuff. I'm not saying change that. That will serve you. What I am saying though is, you still want to show up with the very best presentation for the judges. Because if they ask you, another common question at a national or international pageant is, how will you have time for this in your already busy life? So you want to be prepared to say, well, actually, I've already been spending 6 hours a week or 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week for presenting my legacy project, putting together this whatever you're going to call it. And so my energy with that would only shift to speaking about the pageant and about the pageant title. But I'm already spending the time doing this. So it isn't a shift for me, right? That's kind of what you want to think about is like create space already in your schedule by doing this, moving this project forward, right?
Yeah, the only reason why I'm so busy this semester is because the next 2 years, I only have to take the bare minimum credits. So that's why I feel comfortable doing this. If I was crazy busy, I probably wouldn't try and be a title holder, but I have it all set up now that it would work perfectly.
Love it. Look at you, thinking ahead. Girl, you are on top of it. This is great. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for you. And you're the type of person that would be able to make an epic legacy project. Like, I can't wait. You got to let me know what it turns into because I'm going to be using your example in the future. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, well, I worked with this girl, Lindsey, and here's what she did. Like, because it's going to be epic what you create. Really, truly. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. Oh, yay.
I'm so excited.
Good. So does this help answer I know it's more work, but you've got the time for it because your pageant is still a few months away. But how does this feel for you?
It definitely feels like the right push that I needed because I always knew that I wanted to do something like this, but having that push, having that little like, okay, little birdie, go fly, it's been really great.
Awesome. Good. Awesome. I'm happy to hear that, Lindsey. Cool. Well, keep in touch with me. Let me know how it goes. And if there's anything else I can do to support you, let me know. Definitely check out that episode number 23, winapageant.com/23. That'll be good. And you can always search from that site too to figure out other platform related things as you build this out in order to stand out in your pageant. Ooh, wasn't that good stuff? Oh, I hope you learned so much from her. I know I had so much fun doing this strategy call with her as we usually do. It's fun. So 2 things. If you need to hear more of these strategy sessions because they're so good and you can learn so much from them, then just search strategy sessions because I have a few more clients that also agreed to be recorded. So you'll be able to look at the behind the scenes of their calls as well. And then if you are ready to schedule your strategy session, you can go to winapageant.com/coaching. That's going to take you to my calendar so you can see what appointments are available and when you can book yours. And you'll also see pricing options there, which types of calls are available and how much do each of them cost. And you can book your call directly from there. I cannot wait to work with you. Head over to winapageant.com/coaching to check it out. I'll see you next time.